What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your year in review. But before we get into the year in review, we're going to start out with a quick week in review, because the team was on vacation, so there wasn't too much on the kind of list of things to discuss for the week. But we did get the Squadron 42 visual trailer, and I thought it was pretty cool. There was a lot of cool visuals, basically, and it's exactly what it was. I did see the community kind of be a little bit whiny about this, as they wanted to see gameplay. And I'm not sure what game companies out there show gameplay a year plus out before their game's released. They usually show visual trailers. Not exactly like this. I think this was a very kind of basic one, but we've seen cinematic trailers, 2 of them now. We've seen a full mission playthrough. I mean, I don't really know what more you want to see without seeing the entire game at this point. So, yeah. Other than that, we also had the Crusader Ares Q&A, and they discussed a few things that I want to discuss with you guys here. Some people asked kind of how agile will the ship be, because it does look kind of agile, right? And basically the team said it's not. It's a heavy weapon ship, so it should fly more like the Vanguard or the Freelancer, and more of like the heavy kind of class ships. Some people also asked what makes a size 7 weapon so good. And there was some discussion about DPS, basically. And it's not about DPS long-term, it's more about range. And by long-term, I mean long-term in Star Citizen's development. It's about range, resistance to damage and distortion, and armor and shield penetration. All of these characteristics, besides range, are not currently in the game, so it's hard to comprehend exactly how this is going to work and how they're all going to play together, but a lot of what they're saying does make sense. So it was addressed the second time in the Q&A, where they were asking, hey, a number of size 4 weapons adds up to the DPS of this size 7 weapon, so why would I choose this over it? And again, they address the fact that smaller sized ammunition will be like just shrugged off by ships that are much larger and have heavy armor and shields. So these size 7 weapons are able to actually penetrate that armor and shield, so that's why larger gun may be better, even though the DPS is comparable or less, or a little bit more than something that is much cheaper, basically. So that's a good explanation of why those kind of things, and why this ship is more of a capital ship killer rather than a dogfighter. What are batteries? People asked that because that was in, I believe, the brochure. Basically, they're not functioning yet in game. We don't have them, but they are basically battery backups for when your power fails on your ship. And the last one that I wanted to discuss is this ship may require you to have a javelin. I thought that was a little bit of a shocker at the end. It's the only ship that it fits in currently is a javelin. So longer term, when the game grows and expands, quantum traveling / jumping to other systems is not really going to be viable in a ship like this. And we knew that with fighters, but only a javelin, right? I guess it can land on a Kraken on the top as well. But yeah, I mean, for the future of the game, the requirement of other players is quite high. And I don't know, that caught me, even though I follow everything, that one caught me off guard a little bit. And yeah, that's really it for this week in review. So I want to jump into the year in review for Star Citizen. And in 2019, it was a record in terms of funding. So we're going to start out with funding. And they made most of their money in the last 2 months. They made just under $10 million in November, and they're over $11 million in December. I think, for one thing, it shows that they don't have to do a lot, and we're going to discuss kind of what they did this year in a little bit, because new people with new money are just coming in now. They didn't hear all the wild speculation of what Star Citizen would be. They don't have all these wild dreams in their head that we have, the backers that have been here forever. They see what it is, and they see what it might be in the near future, not like the super distant future, and they like what they see. And I think these last couple months really show that. And I think it also shows that if you put effort into making the game more playable, which they did do in the last 2 patches, more people are going to want to play your game, more people are going to want to buy, and they're going to get involved in your ecosystem that you created of buying ships. So I don't necessarily agree that ecosystem is super healthy for humanity or for the game in general, but it's what we have. It's why we have what we have. And yeah, I mean, I think this is actually all really good news. And we did discuss the financials a little bit of 2018, and it's showing really strong in 2019. So any concerns that I may have had are kind of calmed quite a bit there. And like we kind of do for Week in Review, I want to go into some patch discussions. I think this is the most important and the meat of the year in review, and it's going to be kind of what we got this year. So starting out with 3.5, we got our Corp. It's an incredibly beautiful planet filled with potential, but it's not there yet. You have the landing zone, very cool, but the buildings is what's filled with potential, but not quite there yet for me. Landing on a roof of a building that you may one day live in, that you may one day break into, that you may one day have a mission to go into. I think that's what ArcCorp really brings. And yeah, looking out the window of your apartment onto ArcCorp I think that's what the potential of that planet really has. Playable female characters and the new DNA customization system. This is a huge update for the backers, specifically the female backers or backers that want to represent who they are in-game, whoever they are in-game. And I thought that this was a really important update for the future of Star Citizen. It's not important, we didn't need it for Star Citizen to be great right now, but for it to be great in the future, that was really, really important, and I enjoyed it. A flight model update. Now, combat's never been the same since this flight model update, and I still think it needs a lot of tweaks, personally, and to make combat viable again. And yeah, we've beat this one ad nauseum throughout the year, but I think a majority of the community isn't quite pleased with the flight model, and they've addressed it at CitizenCon and stuff like that in the past, where they said that they are addressing the issues, but they're taking their time with it. So we'll see in 2020 what the new flight model's potential will bring. Auto gimbals. In combination with the really slidey flight model changes, they added auto gimbals, and it kind of made combat too easy and honestly boring. I rarely do any combat missions because, you know, it just gets really old. I actually can do trading and delivery missions, and I find those more engaging and more interesting than fighting with auto gimbals. So I don't know what you guys think, but I would say that auto gimbals and maybe the flight model are on my top 3 of the worst things that came this year. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Group system improvements. This is a major update. This was a 3.5 update. We got additional updates throughout the year, but this was the first one that really kind of set the tone for the future of Star Citizen this year and beyond, because Star Citizen is really meant to be played with other players, and basically this made it a little bit easier. I think this was the patch that brought, you know, the markers above players' heads so you can see who's in your party and who's not. And from there, it's kind of branched out and grown into something quite awesome. And then we also had a mission giver at ArcCorp, Twitch Pacheco, and basically with those group system improvements came the perfect mission. It was a mission that unlocked all sorts of possibilities for the future. A mission that gives you a ship. The actual mission gives you a ship to use, so think of the potential there that they have that capability. And the mission brings you somewhere that creates a counter mission. We've seen missions like that in 2018 on Hurston, but again, missions that create PvP, missions that bring us together in a giant space game are really, really important. And a way for your team to make money while you took the mission is cool by selling the drugs at the outpost and everything like that. I think this made, at the time, for me, made the future of the mission system really bright, and I thought that was in 3.5. That was a major factor. And with every patch, we're going to go through what ships came in. We had the 300 series, and specifically, ship customization dropped with this ship, or this ship series, but only this ship series, unfortunately. We've yet to see any other ships have ship customization this year. That was actually one of the bigger disappointments for me, is I wanted to see them continue this trend. Now, we talked about funding a little bit earlier, and they absolutely killed it, but I think that if they continue with the trend of customizing your ship and all of our ships to make them more our own, and you do that on the store, I think funding would be like more consistent throughout the year, and yeah, I think it'd be really good. We also got Misc Variance. Those were pretty cool. Obviously, they don't all have their functionality on right now, but nonetheless, we have them in game. 3.6, we got ship purchasing. I think this was a massive update for 2019 and beyond for Star Citizen. This created a sense of purpose for me in the game. It gave me a reason to want to play, even if I, and other players to play, even if they just had a starter ship. Regardless of how often the game wipes, it gave you a goal, and that's monumental. We also had hover mode, and yeah, we're not going to talk much about that one. That one is a bit of an eyesore for the year of 2019. We had our first FPS weapon attachment customization, and this added some weapon attachments to the game. And basically, it just brought scopes for 3.6, but it created the ability to customize weapons for the future. And we did get additional customization later on in the year. We also got the law system.
Frickin' law systems, bro.
This created similar groundworks for lawful and unlawful players. Jurisdictions are a great way to keep different types of players separate from one another. People that want to play the game just for fun and peacefully, they can do that. And the opposite, they can kind of join into those like lawful areas with risk. So I thought that was really good. Ships and ground vehicles that came with 3.6 were the Anvil Ballista, the Vanguard update, so just the Vanguard Harbinger update, the P-72 Archimedes, and the 890 Jump. The 890 Jump was obviously one of the highlights of the patch. It was nice to see some of the more supportive backers get the ship that they wanted in the game. 3.7, starting out with something a little different. The Good Doctor map and electronic access improvements. I think that is really interesting. It's kind of nice to show that they are focusing on the entirety of Star Citizen, and we find out later in the year that this kind of led into what will be a major focus on the electronic access game modes, and using those to figure out how we're going to play in the Star Citizen PU. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. I know we don't have servers, and we don't have server meshing in particular where we can truly see what the game will be like, but it's also kind of concerning that we're not able to see and balance and figure out what's fun in the PU, which is the game that we're really going to be playing. But I think this is a good step for us. Caves, another massive ball of potential. They're big, they're spooky, and they have valuable things in them. I can't wait to see what 2020 brings for caves. In 2019, they brought us FPS mining, so that was a great thing. It gave access to mining for players who don't own a prospector, and I thought that was really good. It was accessibility, and it was also massively profitable in 3.7. Now, they did nerf that profitability just slightly in 3.8, but 3.7, it was a lot of fun. And because of FPS mining, we got personal commodity inventories. So this was just to put the commodities that you're mining or harvesting out in the verse into a backpack, and then you can create a box with them. But this is not physical inventories, and I would say it's better than nothing, and we're able to store harvestables on our suits, but it's a good step in the direction to get to what would eventually be some sort of inventory management. And again, harvestables, these were cool. You can find them pretty easily in caves. They were really difficult to find outside of caves, I'm not sure anyone ever found the data pads or whatever. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. They really didn't have any value right now, so just a kind of minor thing. Quantum Enforcement version 1. In my opinion, this was the biggest eyesore and the biggest waste of time in 2019. I've never been interdicted by a player once. I was able to do it a couple times when I was using the ship in the PTU, and they did not work on a reason to interdict players, and I think that's why it was a waste of time. There was no reason to interdict players or NPCs, and I'm not sure why this was a priority, and for me, it's the biggest, like, stain on the year. But let me know what you guys think about it. Yeah, it was kind of a bummer, that one. Now, on a much more positive note, this was the opposite of a stain, mission sharing. So in 3.7, while you did missions, you can share that mission with all the members in your party, and the people who accept it will share in the profits of that mission. I thought that this was great. Star Citizen is fun solo, but it's really great playing with your friends, and I think that supporting this mission sharing system is supporting the Star Citizen community. I thought that was really, really awesome. Ship rentals. This is the next step after ship purchasing, and I think it's a good solution for the fact that the team still wipes the database a lot, but I'm not convinced personally that it's good long term. I mean, you can currently customize rentals. That's crazy. So why ever buy if you can customize your rental kind of thing, right? Just rent it for 30 days and you're good. Ships that came in, speaking of rentals, Anvil Pisces. I think this is one of the better starter packages now. I'm considering doing a starter series with it once we get a lot of the bugs with 3.8 cleaned up. Second to the Avenger, probably. It has a ton of room inside for mission items and a huge fuel tank to get around the verse without having to refuel that often. The RSI Mantis, we talked about that one already. The Vanguard Variance came in, as well as the Banu Defender, and yeah, some pretty cool ships in 3.7. Moving on to 3.8, we had Microtech and Planetech version 4. So I'm kind of bundle those together. This was a huge step for CIG. Microtech looks amazing, but more importantly, it was on the fact that they said that they can make planets and moons much quicker now with Planetech V4. So all this means, and this was kind of the theme of the end of the year, and I guess we'll talk about CitizenCon in a little bit. It was the fact that they're building to be able to scale Star Citizen, and this is some technology that's going to allow them to do it. Weather as well, that I kind of bundled this in with Planetech V4, was a really immersive touch and really, really nice. Rest stops and orbital stations. Now, in previous patches, I didn't touch on them. We had rest stop iteration, but this is kind of like the final step of the new rest stops, and they're awesome. They're huge. They have huge internals. You can get lost in them, and more importantly, we have orbital stations around the major landing zones, which is really nice. So it makes flying to and from an area a lot simpler now, and especially like if you plan on staying around Hurston, you don't have to land on or at Lorville. You can land at the station, and then it's a lot easier to get around because you don't have to leave and exit and enter atmosphere, which is really nice. The 890 jump mission, the rewards in 3.8 are kind of crappy, but the mission is a really nice touch. But I don't think it gave me the feel that the Pacheco mission did about the future of Star Citizen's missions. And yeah, I'm still excited for 2020 to see what it brings, but I'm less excited in 3.8 than I was in 3.5. Mining heads. You guys all know how much I love these. This is changing mining big time. It made it dynamic, it made it interesting, and counter to the way I feel about the missions, this progression providing kind of makes me think that future mechanics, having these little bits of progression, are going to be really fun and interesting as well. We also had FPS close combat, just a cool touch. It's pretty wonky and weird right now to me. It's kind of immersion breaking, but again, maybe in the future it'll be a lot cooler. Ships, we got the Argo Mole so far, and in 2020 we'll have some future ships as well. Now, moving on to video updates. Changes are for the better. I think we went from around the verse and reverse the verse to a much better inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live. I thought they were both really positive changes, and I expect to see more improvements on the video content in the new year. I think the video for each patch was really great this year. I thought they did some really cool updates with that. Having the devs involved, it was really cool. Pillar Talk. This was an addition this year that I think it was pretty well received at first, and not so much with the next two patches with 3.7 and 3.8. I think it talked more about the patches and less about the status of the actual pillars. So I think that's what we would like to see from Pillar Talk in 2020, because we get updates on the patches throughout the year. It's kind of reiterating themselves when they do Pillar Talk about stuff that we already know about. Pillar Talk should be for the hardcore backers. We want to know what's going on with server meshing next year. We want to know what's going on with the low-level APIs. We want to know what's going on with, I don't know, jumping to another system, whatever Pillar org improvements. We want to hear what your thoughts are about that, what your plans are for that. That's what I want to see from Pillar Talk. And then finally, the last thing that we'll discuss today is CitizenCon. I think it was a pretty good CitizenCon overall. The keynote, not so much. I think the keynote was kind of but the theme of CitizenCon set the tone for 2020 for me. And it was multiple people saying that visuals are going to be secondary, or they're already where they want them, let's say, and the focus is going to be on gameplay. And in 2020, I want to see them deliver on those statements. And with that, guys, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. This was my very brief year in review. I want to hear what you thought about Star Citizen in 2019. I want to hear what you feel it will be in 2020. And yeah, hit that subscribe button for more videos like this in the future. Leave a like, do all that stuff. Check out my Twitch stream if you haven't yet. We stream 6 days a week, every day but Friday at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time. And yeah, I can't wait to see you guys next week. And I don't know if we'll have much to talk about next week, because it's been pretty quiet, so we'll have to see. But talk to you guys later. Have a great one.